Hello Switchheads, Kano here and welcome back to my first full-length review, well, for a while. Please do check out my update video for, well, additional info on the above statement. Okay then, Fallen Angel review it is then. Embrace the devil in this action-adventure strategy game that lets you roleplay as Lucy himself. Now tell me your desires. Engage. Story. This one's a little similar whilst being a little bit different at the same time. You see, you get to play Lucy in a story we all already know, but this time you're out for revenge on the family that cast you aside, and with your father absent, the whole hierarchy is running amok as they try to lay claim to creation. Controls. Welcome once again. It really has been a while since I've done one of these. So let's kick off. Basic left, right, up, down stuff, and then you got these weapons down here that you can swap around, and then by using the one trigger button you can fire with it. They're not exactly the most accurate things at times, but I don't know. I explain more in the review over there. So yeah, somewhere. And then you jump, a glide, and you get abilities that you can open up, also explain later on. And then your basic hitty, and then kind of like a strafe, or whatever you want to call it, dodge thing that you can go through enemies. Very, very useful. You'll be coming to terms with using this a lot, and sometimes not even in the destroy the monster type way, which was unfortunate, but it's part of the game, and yeah, it kind of lets it down slightly. I'll explain a bit later, or a bit more a bit later. You get the point. Thank you. And just a quick reminder to subscribe for more weekly reviews and sales, and more. Gameplay. Putting the devil aside and making sure you have your salt at the ready, this one's a top-down hack and slasher with a pinch of twin-stick shootery thrown in for good measure. Although I will say the shooting can feel a little awkward at times. It just doesn't respond as well as I would have liked, and I found myself missing targets as much as hitting them. This kind of meant not using the shooting as much as I think I should have been using it at the start of the game, as that first weapon was so awkward to use, and this meant I got used to not using it for the later upgrade weapons. Progression is made by entering levels, defeating enemies, and, well, moving on. Each level has normally several directions to move outwards or across or up to, and some directions take you to new screens, and using the handy map you're allowed to make your way through it in your own way. And that is to say, if you get stuck navigating an area, you can choose to go another for a while, but be careful, as some of these other directions can be more challenging than the others. I will say that at times this kind of had a reminiscent feel to those games that load one screen at a time, but in this case it's areas at a time. Progression also yields abilities like gliding, which I found a little hard to pinpoint landings at times, and demon form, using energy collected by doing damage, and you can collect shards to stock up on your ammo. And then some of these abilities can be added onto, like the gliding, you can then get like a smash attack and other things like that as well. And just quickly, if you're still with me at this point, like this video, plug, moving on. There does seem to be an infinite continue system attached to this game, taking a little bit of that brutality of playing out of it. Enemies seem to do that pattern thing that so many games like this do. Learn it and move on, but get overwhelmed and, well, it could feel like something out of a bad zombie flick. There's even boss-like enemies scattered around, and again, learn and defeat. Only it can, for me at least, feel a little tipped in their favour. Even using your demon superpower can't stop you fighting the big one after at least 2 hits. Yep, there's no Mario-like power-up stars here. although you do get better weapons later on, like the shotgun and kind of like a machine gun as well, and it does make shooting enemies a little bit easier, but by then you're kind of like used to not using it, and you have to kind of retrain yourself again. Okay, so all of this was fine and dandy until I discovered I could run and use my slide port-like power to just skip past most enemies to the bosses and just end up learning these parts. This was not always the case, as some parts need you to climb, glide in places, but it made it a little bit more simpler and a little bit more, I don't want to say boring, but kind of like samey then. I have to also admit I was not a fan of the respawn placements. Having to go back so far at times after meeting a boss just felt really annoying. Visuals and sound. Okay, so this one's voiced in many parts and does add that certain je ne sais quoi to the proceedings. Although you can't turn the music down separate to the actual sound, so that was rather a letdown sometimes, drowning out other audio sounds. Visually, there's many enemies and different locations, and while I have seen better, it still, for me, felt pretty decent, with some destructible environments and nice little touches and effects with the weapons and bosses. I will say here though that the further I went into Fallen, the more frame rate problems I encountered, which in turn hurt my progression, as timing can actually be key to taking down some of these enemies as you progress. The good. Voiced is always a winner for me. Some nice visuals, decent enough story, and alternative routes to take and complete was a cool idea. The bad. Shooting felt a little hit and miss, was either too hard or too easy to skip parts. Enemies felt a wee bit overpowered. The score. Unfortunately, just like Disney with the Star Wars franchise, it had a lot of good ideas, but the implementation was a little flawed. 3 out of 5 is where I'm throwing down here, and it's a shame, but it is what it is. It's not a massive ask price-wise, and some will get more than others out of it. Now then, before we go all alternative on your ass, why not take a minute and like and subscribe to the channel for more content coming your way in the future. They're just 2 little buttons. It won't take you long to press them, and let's face it, if you've made it this far, you're all in anyways. The alternative. Well now, I'm going to call upon Enter the Gungeon, as I like its multiplayer and it's just so darn good fun. And to be honest with you, I'm being a little bit lazy here. Oh, I mean, I'm giving you all the chance to tell me what game fits better in the alternative position. Yeah. So go ahead and leave it down below with any thoughts you may have of Fallen Angel as well. And feel free to come visit us in the little community we like to call the Switchheads Community Discord. Because life is better when we switch together.